to American Warrior Radio right here on AM 1300 WMEL and online at 1300WMEL.com. Folks, you can always check out the archives of American Warrior Radio. Just click on the archives tab at 1300WMEL.com and listen to past episodes, including this one. You can download it as an MP3 file and share it with your friends, relatives, co-workers. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, so I'm going to get this out real quick. We're going to continue our conversation with Sanctuary Island's Barbara O'Brien and our special call-in guest. But as Glenn and I discussed last episode of American Warrior Radio, I will give you that information that we trailed off on regarding Agent Orange and the presumptive. So stay tuned for that. But let's get back to the discussion we were having. You know, I think we'd like to hear a little bit about the military history in your family. I understand you have a son who's active duty Coast Guard.
Yes, I have a commander who is at an air station at Port Angeles, and he's been in the Coast Guard since he graduated from the academy, and I think he's going to be retirement in about 6 years, but I'm not so sure that's what will happen. He seems to be very dedicated to the Coast Guard, and we really hope to see someday an admiral. I have a brother who retired from the Navy as a Master Chief. I have a grandnephew, Carol Joseph's grandchild, who is a SEAL and just got back from Afghanistan. I have deceased family members that were in the Army, Air Force, Merchant Marines.
Wonderful. That's a rich tradition of military service in your family, and we certainly appreciate that. When you see your son, tell him definitely to check out American Warrior Radio and AVET Project. We want to share this information because we are one of the few programs across this nation that focus on veterans and military issues, and it's real important to get people engaged, even those that don't know. But we reach across the seas, folks. We get callers and comments from as far as Afghanistan, Pakistan, Korea. We have on the line right now a recent participant in your program at Sanctuary Island with Heavenly Hooves, Candy Lovett. Candy, can you hear me? Doing great. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with us today. I wanted to get right to it. What's your take on what Barbara and her organization were able to do for you? She's smiling from ear to ear, so I know that sentiment is appreciated. Now, tell us a little bit. Okay, so it happened rather quickly, but one of your wishes, because you are suffering an ailment that may take you down a road none of us want to go, but you had a desire to get involved in this equine therapy, right? Okay, so tell me what the value was, bottom line. I know you're a combat vet yourself. What kind of value, what was the takeaway from this experience? Well, we really appreciate you sharing that, because it's super important, Barbara, that if folks believe in this and believe in helping their veteran friends and co-workers and community members, how can they get involved either on a volunteer basis or make a donation?
Well, as far as Sanctuary Island is concerned, you can call us if you're a vet and you want a horseback ride, and we will hook you up with Heavenly Hoofs. Or if you can't ride a horse, there are unmounted programs at Harmony Farms. We also have volunteers at Sanctuary Island, and we can use all the help we can get. So you just have to call my cell phone, 732-778-9607. And we really want donations. We need to pay for our free military children's party. We need to help the farms because they're doing all this for free, but the horses eat, and they need to have all kinds of care. And they have expenses of psychologists and other people. So we want to raise these funds to be able to help the farms. So donations at any amount can be mailed to Sanctuary Island, 1101 South Miramar Avenue, number 303, Indialantic, Florida, 32903, or go to our website and use PayPal,
which is a secure pay system. So go to sanctuaryisland.org. They'll see a donate button. They can click there and make a donation directly to you.
They go to How Can I Help? And then PayPal button will come up.
And the nice thing about your site is you explain a lot of your program and your offerings and how it helps with the warriors themselves. Candy, again, I was talking about the issues that a lot of warriors are facing, the post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, which I understand you suffer from as well. Did you notice any uptick in your mood after you completed the program?
I'm sorry, we're having a storm here and I didn't catch the last part of what you said.
I was just asking what's your last impression of the program and how did it boost your mood? How did it help you as far as a coping method?
For me, it brought a lot of happiness and joy. It brought tears because I couldn't believe that it actually was coming together. Animals is a very good kind of therapy, and especially equine. It was like, it's like it almost matched with, the horses almost matched with you and your personality. It was really interesting. I had a very, very awesome horse, and it took me...
You remember the name of the horse?
Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah, and it was just so cool. I mean, for me, I had horses, I trained horses years ago, way before the military in my younger days, and so part of me had a hard time trying to understand not to use, to be on it as a barrel racer, which is what I was used to. So a couple times they had to keep reminding me, but that was because my brain injury kicked in and I didn't remember. But it was a very, very good experience, and the people that just work with you are just awesome and know how to work with each person and each disability or challenge or however you want to call it, and it was very rewarding for me, and it brought tears to me because I really just could not believe that it was going to actually come about and happen. I didn't really feel that until I actually got there,
Sure.
And it was great, and I appreciate all that you guys as Ava did, as well as your project did, as well as, Barbara and John from Sanctuary, and then the crew from Heavenly Hoofs. It was just really amazing.
For sure. So during her ride, did you have handlers alongside her at the same time?
No, actually, she rode independently.
Ah.
They were there, but they were on horseback. And she got to ride independently. And listen, Candy Sweet Lovett. Her name is just so unique, Candy Sweet Lovett. Candy, you were just so perfect on the horse. And then they put me on as one of your partners. I've never ridden a horse, but I at least got to walk around with you and be a part of it too.
Wonderful. I think everybody wins with this program, and who doesn't love horses? I mean, they're free-spirited beings, but there's that connection, right, Candy? When you met your horse for the first time. Yeah. There's a sensibility.
Oh, I'll tell you, it was a hoot. It was a hoot.
Well, for all our listeners out there that are not here on the Space Coast or within the state of Florida, if you're listening in Vermont or Texas or out on the West Coast, there are probably programs like this. You can check it out online I'm sure even Barbara may have some referrals if you have somebody that you know would benefit from a program like this. But certainly if you're here in Florida, now Candy, you reside up by Gainesville, so you were able to come down for this. Did you have lodgings? Did they take care of your meals? What happened there?
Yeah, Sanctuary Island took care of my lodging and took care of my meals, which was really, really awesome. You know, I appreciate it very much. They do. That's part of. I know they do fundraising for many things, but that's part of it, so that they can pay the expenses of the person, you know, coming to get the therapy.
Exactly, and folks, that's why Barbara mentioned if you want to volunteer and specifically if you want to donate some money to help them reach out to the Warriors, you can do so by visiting sanctuaryisland.org and just click on the, what was the button again?
The How Can I Help button. And you know, I think Candy, we're probably going to help with a pair of boots, so we're going to have to raise some funds to do that so she gets some equipment.
And one more time, tell us about the encounter with the kids at the zoo again. When is that?
The Brevard Zoo, a party for military children facing any kind of challenge, will be September 30th, and it'll be from 11 to 2 at the lodge, and it is going to be throughout the afternoon where you will get admission to the zoo. So we have lots of exciting things planned for that day, and it's free to these military children. We have 50 slots that we can fill.
So
that
get
we've
signed
paid
up
for.
early. Get signed up early. Before we leave this part of the program, a special person to ride. One of the books offered that your son wrote. Where can they get the book again?
They can go to Mark's website, Mark O'Brien Author, www.markobryanauthor.com.
And Mark is M-A-R-C.
M-A-R-C, yes. And they can order the book there, or they can call Sanctuary Island 732-778-9607, or the publisher, which is in Florida, Blue Note Books.
And Candy, you got a copy of that book. Have you had a chance to read through it yet?
Absolutely. I devoured it as soon as I got it in the mail. It is an awesome book. And tell Mark I said thank you very much for that book. That was really good.
I hope he signed it for you, Candy.
Absolutely, he did.
So autographed versions of the book available. But folks, please get involved, make a donation, volunteer your time. This is a very worthy cause, and it's out there. You're hearing it right here, live testimony from Candy, a recent participant. She gained a lot from it. So let's support these folks and their mission to help our warriors. Again, Candy, thank you so much for joining us and for all that you do to support our troops. And Barbara and your husband John, who's in studio with us today, you folks are doing a tremendous job, and I wish you the best, and I encourage everybody out there in American Warrior Radio Land to get involved and make a donation to help them continue this important program. Anything else that you'd like to say?
I just want to thank Abby Horner, Amy Walker, and Walt,
The names
and the
escaping me.
the certified instructor that was with us. They were wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and the program is great at Heavenly Hoofs. Oh, Wayne Hempstead. Wayne, I'm sorry. When you're listening to this, the last name just went out of my head. I'm sorry.
Real good folks there at Heavenly Hoofs, one of the organizations that you partner with to make these dreams come true. Again, Barbara, thank you so much. I know you've got to run. You're going to be taking a little trip, but you won't be going too far, too long, because September 30th, you've got the Brevard Zoo happening.
Well, we have to come back for a Veterans Conference on September 19th that is being run by the County College, and then... But Delta, Delta, we had to change our reservations to be able to stay here, to be able to do this broadcast. And Delta Airlines was wonderful. When we told them the story, they didn't charge us any fee for changing our reservations to 6 p.m. tonight.
Way to go, Delta. Thank goodness. Don't hear a lot of those stories anymore, but good plug for Delta, and I appreciate that they were able to do that and that you were able to visit with us today. Very important that we got this word out. And thank you for what you do and continued success with Sanctuary Island. Again, one last time, your phone number and website.
732-778-9607. The website is www.sanctuaryisland.org.
Folks, we've been talking with Barbara O'Brien from Sanctuary Island and a recent participant in our program, Candy Lovett, out there by Gainesville. Candy, thank you so much for joining us, and best to you. We'll be talking with you down the road, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, okay?
You bet. Have a great day. And folks, I wanted to, again, just mention that Glenn and I trailed off the last episode of American Warrior Radio with listing about half the items that were important regarding Agent Orange exposure and the presumptive illnesses. Now, Glenn's not here, but we're going to go over some of these because, as I mentioned during that last episode, the YouTube visits, folks that hit on these programs, numbers in the many hundreds. I think one of them was like 517 hits. So it's an issue that's very important. So I'm going to cover them again. What I'm going to mention, again, just to kind of recap, the presumptive disorders through this Agent Orange, this herbicide exposure, if you had boots on the ground, and that means you were there and it's provable, it's either on your discharge document or you were on a ship that went up into the waters throughout the country, you are going to be eligible. God forbid you get one of these diagnoses from your doctors, but if you had boots on the ground or you're on one of the boats and that list of boats is ever increasing, they're finding that a lot more boats did a lot more travel up in the inward waterways of Vietnam, the Republic of Vietnam. If you were one of those and you come down with one of the illnesses I'm going to mention here in a moment, you have presumptive service connection. What does that mean? That means that they're going to recognize your illness is related to being exposed to Agent Orange or one of the other defoliants, and as a result you're going to be paid money, cash money. As a, think of it like this: if you were out in the regular workplace and you were injured through no fault of your own, you're going to be eligible for workers' comp. Well, as a military member, of course, you don't get workers' compensation, and as a matter of fact, you're on the clock from the time you sign that contract to the time you either separate through discharge or retirement. You're a GI, government issue, so they own you. Anything that happens during that time, barring willful misconduct, if it is a chronic disability, it's going to be eligible, make you eligible for service-connected disability compensation. Having said all that, I know Glenn and I covered those issues that are less likely to impact your life right now, and because they either had to be diagnosed within a year following exposure, and we covered those lists of items. Well, right now I want to talk about the issues that are clearly making an impact on our veteran population from Vietnam. One of the items that you definitely need to seek compensation for if you're a boots on the ground Vietnam vet, diabetes mellitus type 2. Now that's anybody that knows anything about medicine knows that if your blood sugar level is rising or falling and the doctor says, you know, you're pre-diabetic or you are diabetic, or the doctor puts you on any type of medication for the diabetes, then you have a claim. It's already well grounded. In other words, the VA is not going to question you and say, well, when did you get it and how did you get it and all that. No, they're going to presume that you got it because of your exposure to Agent Orange, so you've got an automatic in. The only thing that's going to happen after that is they will order a confirming examination to determine the level of disability you're suffering. And from there, once that paperwork's all completed, they're going to issue you a check, a tax-free check. I'm not going to sit here and speculate what level of disability comp you're going to get, but by going through the process, you will receive compensation from the VA for that disorder. The others, this is a new one. Now the list has expanded. Not as quickly as we'd like. I mean, we've got Vietnam vets that have been waiting 30 years for this one. Ischemic heart disease, IHD, as your doctor may have written in your notes. If it's anything other than hypertension or a valvular disorder. Now, if you have hypertension or you have a valvular disorder, that is not going to be included. Any other disease within your heart, the cardiac system, the coronary system, is a presumptive disorder. So if your doctor tells you that you've got angina, atrial fib, whatever the issue might be outside of hypertension or valvular, you've got a well-grounded claim. Presumptive, that means you sign the application, it goes to the VA, you get paid. Okay, they order the C&P exam, as I mentioned, but if you suffer from any type of heart problem and you're boots on the ground Vietnam, boom, you're in. Next one, and this is a ever-growing one as well, prostate cancer. The incidence of prostate cancer among Vietnam vet men is far and above what the national average is, so they couldn't deny it any longer. Now, this wasn't one of the recent add-ons to the list, but it's been out there about 10 years now. If your doctor diagnoses you with prostate cancer, first of all, don't get scared by the diagnosis. It's very treatable, and more often than not, they can put it into remission. But you have to get your tests, your annual PSA test, just to make sure you don't have it. So the prostate cancer is definitely one of those that's going to pay you money. If you're a boots on the ground Vietnam vet and you come down with prostate cancer, boom, file the claim with the VA. One of the best ways to do that is to visit your county veteran service officer, just like Glenn here in Brevard County. There's, 67 other counties in Florida. They all have county veteran service offices with credentialed, qualified folks. Get in there and say, hey, my doctor diagnosed me with prostate cancer or ischemic heart disease or one of the others, diabetes, and they'll start the paperwork, initiate the paperwork for you, and you will get paid. Another one that's important to mention and is also on the increase is the respiratory cancers, okay, including lung cancer. That's any kind of cancer of the lung, the larynx, the trachea, the bronchus. So God forbid you get one of these diagnoses. Again, they're treatable, but it really hinges upon how quickly you get diagnosed and start to undergo treatment. I've got a close personal friend that had a lobectomy, had part of his lung removed, boots on the ground Vietnam. Now he suffers disability beyond that, and he's kind of a good case study of this, because while the disease is active, they're going to pay you at one rate, and then after it goes into remission, if there's any residuals like shortness of breath or your expiratory volume is lower than what the standards are, they're going to rate that accordingly. So just like your prostate cancer, if you suffer prostate cancer and discover that you have some erectile dysfunction after the fact, after it's gone into remission, guess what? The VA, after it goes into remission, is going to take you back down to zero on that particular disorder, so the payment will stop. However, if your doctor prescribes any kind of medication to help your libido or your erectile dysfunction problem, you're going to be eligible for what's called SMC-K. That's Special Monthly Compensation K for loss of use of a creative organ. What I'm saying is there are continuing funds that come to you after these disorders go into remission. The heart disease, you're probably going to be stuck with the residuals of that. They'll rate it accordingly, but it all starts with you getting involved, getting into a credentialed. You can go to your American Legion post and file one of these claims because they're fairly straightforward and simple, but I always encourage someone to go to a credentialed service officer and get it going, because it is super important that you get that introduced as quickly as possible, because the VA needs all the time they can get with their with their backlog. It can take them up to a year, sometimes a year and a half, to get these claims rated. So the sooner you get it, the sooner you're going to get paid. Again, what did I say? Presumptive. That means you're in the door. It's a matter of them confirming the diagnosis and rating the residuals of your disability after you get it under control. So I just wanted to share that information. I told you we'd do it last episode, and we'll talk more about this Agent Orange, and we'll also get into the current presumptive disorders for guys and gals from the battlefields that we're currently on, well, in Iraq and Afghanistan, because they've been exposed to what's called environmental toxins with the burn pits that we hear about on the news. Basically anything that was combustible was put on fire over there, either by the locals or by our warriors, and they inhaled a bunch of stuff. A lot of it went into their eyes and their skin, and there's some serious residuals to that. Well, thankfully, our new Secretary of the VA introduced that issue as a presumptive disorder, so he's like 30 years ahead of the game. Our Vietnam vets waited a long time for their for their compensation to come through on some of these disorders. So, hats off to Secretary Shinseki for recognizing the long-term effects to this exposure of environmental toxins on the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan. If you're one of those warriors and you have a question as to whether or not what you're suffering may be related, I think the best place to start is with your doctor and get a firm diagnosis of what your issue is, and then what? Go see your county veteran service officer and file the claim. And the VA will pick it up. They have a duty to assist you with your claim, and they'll process it accordingly. It's just super important that we get the word out. So if you know somebody that's suffering from those issues, now you have a little insight on what it takes. So get on it and share the word. Before we drop this episode of American Warrior Radio, I wanted to mention, folks, get involved in Sanctuary Island. Send them some money, okay? Get involved in volunteering. They're doing great work there. AVET project, as usual, we've always got something going on. If you would like a crack at a $1,000 Kel-Tec KSG shotgun, these items are so hot that the retailers can't even keep them in stock. For $10 you can get a crack at it. Just go to avetproject.org, lower left corner, click on the Facebook icon. You'll see all the information about that program. So get involved there because we really need your support. We've got a lot of EEBs, our care packages, to ship over to the troops. $13.45 a pop. We got to come up with the shipping costs. So every dollar is important. And as always, we'll be back next week on American Warrior Radio with another exciting edition. I'm sure we'll have a guest or two, and Glenn will be back with us. But folks, just have a great week. Celebrate our troops. Say hello to a veteran whenever you get a chance. And as Glenn always says, don't forget, thank a vet.